I don't believe in myself.
Yeah.
I believe in God in me. It's just finding the chemicals, the natural chemicals, or the biosynthesized things that our body can relate to and speak its language.
We used to think genetics, like you are born with your genes and whatever your genes are going to do. But now they're like, realize that's a bunch of crap. Yes, genes are strong, but epigenetics is stronger, and that's what you do to influence your genes.
Yeah.
You don't just sit there and say, my genes are like this. Okay, let's influence your genes.
Yeah. There's some thoughts that are coming to mind. One's the scripture, faith without works is dead. You can't have a belief without an action, or it wasn't really a belief.
Every Wednesday night was prayer meeting night, and every time it would be, please pray for Tom, because Tom's not feeling ill this week. He's feeling poorly. I know why Tom's feeling poorly, because I've seen Tom eat at the potluck. So
This is the Poddy with Serene
and Pearl.
Get it right, Poddy.
It's the Trim Healthy Podcast with these two ladies, Serene and Pearl, and I'm Danny, and we're glad you tuned in behind the fourth wall and those listening podcast only. Today is exciting. Why? Because I have a question that I think a lot of people need to hear the answer to for newbies, for new beginners, people that may not have even decided that they're going to read your book or do the plan. They are just surfing the web, and here they land on this show. And they've heard about it. They see all the reviews. They have seen the private groups. They're just learning about Trim Healthy Mama, which is now Trim Healthy.
'Tis.
What would be your advice to that person? Maybe it's just a mantra they need to keep in front of them. Maybe it's just, what's the first baby step? What's their mindset need to be as they begin this path of reclaiming their health?
And the spotlight goes to you, Serene.
The first thing that comes to mind is keep it sane, keep it simple, which was one of our first mantras. Is it on the front cover? We only have our front cover of our old book here because Pearl was looking into it for another podcast.
No, that says no more fads.
No, but keep it sane, keep it simple is in here somewhere. And no more fads. We could do that one too. No more fads. But I just feel like all of the extreme things that cut out whole food groups, that have you 30 days to shreds, that have you doing anything that's miserable, but also just extreme for the body. If you're a woman, you're most probably a woman. We've talked about it over and over on this podcast. It does more harm than good in the end. And for men, in the end, it was also not such a fantastic plan. My point being is just go the sustainable, slow approach. Let it take the years it needs to take, but that way your health journey will get to a destination and stay there. So what I'd like to say is, if you're looking and you're thinking, maybe is this a plan for me? I'm just saying, whatever plan you end up finding and feels like it's a good fit for you, let it be something that's sane, that's slow, that's balanced, and that doesn't promise quick fixes, but you don't know what's promised 15 years down the track.
No, I think that's so good. And give yourself lots of grace when you start, especially if you're coming from a sugar-laden lifestyle or you've returned to a sugar-laden lifestyle. I think when you come back to the basics of whole food eating, it can, for many, be a time of withdrawal almost, because sugar, when it's a big part of our lives, it can do interesting things to the brain. There's a lot of connections that are fired by sugar and the dopamine reward pathway for sugar. But sugar is, and not just sugar, like we don't vilify sugar to say it should never ever be in your diet. Look, sugar's the baddie. No, it's the control it has over people and how it has overtaken our diet. And it is the reason why type 2 diabetes now is the #1 worldwide epidemic for disease. It's the #1 thing stealing people's health. Oh. And so why would you kind of want to do our plan? Why would we say, hey, come join us and let this be the gentle way? Because you are going to get rid of sugar's hold over you, because I think Serene and I have spent our last 12 years giving you delicious ways to do that. But not only that, you're going to do it, as Serene said, in a way that fuels your whole body and doesn't leave out things, where you will be a broken woman in 5 years rather than be a built-up woman.
And before we just send it back over to you, Dan, I'd like to say, don't ask people that have had incredible testimonies who have been doing it, some particular extreme plan, for only 4 years. Don't ask them, so tell me your success story. You need to talk to people that have done things done a certain way for over 5 years, more like a decade, because or they did it for a few years and it's been a decade since, because the rebound effect is often not seen until years down the track. The injury to your fat cells, where they actually become stiffened and injured and don't like to release fat anymore. The injury to your metabolism, where you actually lose certain hormones, certain satiety hormones, and actually you are triggered into having the opposite, like insatiable hunger chemicals running rampant around your body. All of this can happen maybe a decade down the road. And so some people say, well, I've done so well on keto and intermittent fasting was the thing for me. Great. How many years has it been since you've done it? And how many weeks/years were you on it?
I had friends that did HCG injections, and I remember, like, I hadn't seen them in like 3 weeks or a month, and ran into them again. They were like divided in two. I was like, whoa, it was dramatic.
But it wasn't the injections. I mean, honestly, Danny, that can happen when people use like GLP-1 peptides too, and their appetite is suppressed too much. So HCG, the reason why they're like divided in two was they're doing 500 calories per day. It's the
they
HCG
also
diet.
ate nothing.
Yeah.
And well, here's what I was going to say is that when they went off of HCG, they were multiplied times two. They were bigger than I had ever seen them.
Right, and that's what happens and that's why, you know, GLP-1 therapies and mimetics have such a terrible, terrible stigma attached to them, is because of this appetite suppression when it is in too much of a strong dose, where you're losing weight so fast, like because you're on a 500 calorie day diet with the HCG, that you are, no matter what you say, you are losing muscle mass. And then what happens? And you are raising ghrelin and lowering leptin. So when you go off these things, the hunger is so intense and your body is paying you back. And it will accumulate weight so fast.
Because your body is compositionally fatter.
Yes.
Even though it's lighter. Because in that fast weight loss, it wasn't necessarily fast fat loss. It was fast overall loss, which means a lot of muscle tissue was lost in that too. And so you may be lighter on the scale, but your fat to lean muscle tissue ratio is more tipped towards heavy on the fat and light on the muscle. Yeah, so muscle goes first.
And so, you know, right now in the world of Ozempic, you know, we've got this world where you can take injections, and Serena and I have not been against them. We've actually been pro them for people who need them, for people who are stuck and got all the diet and lifestyle ticked. However, even then we still say, don't jump up onto that next, you know, dose until you're, you know, maybe never. But keep it low and slow so that weight loss is not too fast, so that you're only shedding fat and not muscle mass. And, you know, we have kind of a whole protocol to do that. Now, sometimes when people first get on GLP-1 injections, they do shed weight fast at first because it's inflammation leaving too. Yeah. And sometimes you can't avoid multiple pounds being shed in that first little time. But after a while, it should regulate if you don't keep going up and up and up.
Yeah, because a lot of it can be excess water weight too from that inflammation where it's just they were blowing up.
But I think, you know, if you come to Trim Healthy, it's not going to generally be a fast weight loss plan. We don't want it to be. We want it to be the slow and steady plot, and that's just not sexy for some people. But you know what happens? They sometimes like, oh man, Trim Healthy, I just couldn't lose weight fast enough. But then they'll go do all the extreme things and they'll come back. They come back to us because it's like, oh my goodness, that actually was sound.
It's like our lovely friend Candace.
Yeah.
Candace Dickinson, who we had here on the Poddy with her testimony. And she never did the extreme and came back. She just was great friends of ours, trusted us. And so from the beginning, she just allowed it to take its sweet time. She enjoyed the journey, and she is the littlest petite thing. You'd never know that she struggled with weight, and it's never tried to come back.
Well, she was 100 pounds down, but it took her 10 years.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was one of those slow, steady, sweet journeys.
And it wasn't steady, actually. Sometimes there was nothing gone.
No, right.
But she actually did that on purpose. She would like include more crossovers, and she didn't have this thing, I must lose this by this.
Yes.
But we understand too when people do everything and there's just a nothing, a big old nothing. And that is the time for extra tools, as we've been talking about lately. But I have a kind of a comment that came in. I wanted to read it, but before that, I wanted to talk about how I feel like I found the remedy for sickness.
For all sickness?
It's bold.
Well, at least...
I'm excited.
Don't you dare say vitamin C.
No, hold on. Okay, so I have found something that works so well, and I've been trialing it, and it seems to be the best fighter of colds, flus, anything going around that I've ever come across in my life, and it was all by accident. My daughter Autumn, and I'm pushing this on all my family members, and they're finding out that it works. My daughter Autumn she had to go to the wedding that you just went to. She woke up with Serene the worst sore throat, fever, and she's like, oh mama,
Always a wedding.
Yeah.
Well, because they never slept.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, Autumn, you're going to do this and you're going to get over it and it's going to be good. I'm like, take this 5 times a day. And she did, and the next day she was fine.
What'd
so
she
I'm
take?
just telling you, I'm not much of a, I'm not. I don't say God told me this and all that. You know those people? I'm not one of them. God told me to tell you, Danny, that your hair should be.
Anytime I've ever said that, I've been wrong.
Okay, but I feel like I found something stumbled. We all know vitamin C is an excellent immune booster, but I've taken it in other forms, ascorbic acid, things like that. And I find it helps, but it's not going to take your cold away, But Serene, when your children were going through whooping cough, you found this protocol where you bought this powder called sodium ascorbate.
Yes.
It is
It's salty.
It's vitamin
not
C
delicious
powder,
at
but
all.
it's very easy on your stomach. It's not delicious, tastes terrible. But you gave me some because I was fighting a cold.
Yeah.
I decided, we had just gotten Essential in, because it tasted
Well, I had
so
to take
terrible.
it with a drink mix. And my children were taking it with little bits of hydrate all day long. I'm like, it has to be taken.
Yeah.
And so
Okay,
you chose the
because
Essential.
it tasted so terrible, I couldn't do it by itself.
Yeah.
I mixed it with the same amount. I do a 1/3 teaspoon of sodium ascorbate, right? You can get off Amazon. I just bought it there.
I think it's, what brand is it?
And the same amount of Essential.
It's bulk. It's a bulk. It's a special brand. Let me look it up.
Okay, but now I have a whole theory of why it works together.
Okay.
So whenever I feel something coming on, well, now I just take that every day, once a day, right? But when I feel something coming on, I take it 5 times a day. Now, you can't overdo it, right? I take it 5 times a day, and especially that's real important before you go to bed.
Here it is. It's Nutribiotic Immunity is the brand.
Nutribiotic
Sodium
Immunity.
ascorbate. And it's not in capsules. It's this buffered
Okay,
powder.
but it's so good for children, because the biggest thing is when all your children get sick. Well, I've given this to Meadow. And for her children, and all my daughter-in-laws, when her children were here, they were getting sick. I fed it to them. Next day, they were right.
Same with mine. And our parents just
Whew.
absolutely.
Okay. The key is doing it with an Essential, and it was just trying to take the bad taste of the other thing away. But what I think is happening, it's a faster uptake into your body, and it gets into your cells, penetrates them deeper.
The glycine pathway.
Goes the glycine pathway, which is your lymphatic system.
Yeah.
Okay, so it makes so much sense, because when you're fighting something, your whole lymphatic system is involved in getting rid of the bugs. So I'm not saying whatever you're fighting will go away in 24 hours, but I am saying freak out. This is working better than anything I have tried in my life for colds, flus, anything. For children, it's so hard to... Children like this stuff.
Well, they don't like the sodium. They like it with the
you mix it with the same amount of Essential. You can go even a bit higher with Essential if you want, just to make it taste yummier. And I don't do it in a big glass of water.
No,
I
it's a
just
shot.
do it in a shot. Do that and then follow with water. And if you're fighting something, take it, this combination 5 times a day and just tell me what happens.
Don't think, I'm just going to put it all together and do a really strong shot. No, it's actually the fact that it's in these divided doses, because the body can only absorb vitamin C a certain amount before
I'm just saying, I think it's going to knock out misery for so many families. And I don't know how this stumbled upon it combination works, Serene. But Autumn was like, Mum, that thing that you gave me, it's a magic thing.
Yeah.
So Nutribiotic sodium ascorbate or ascorbate, ASCORBATE, buffered vitamin C powder, has over 3,000 reviews, almost all of them 5-star.
If you're a dork, weight resistance trainer person, trainee,
this is important.
do not take it an hour before or an hour after exercise.
Oh.
Because, and I'm not talking to worry about food antioxidants like in your blueberries or in your coffee before, your matcha, but like concentrated, isolated antioxidants, vitamin E, vitamin C, alpha lipoic acid, things like that. You don't want to take that around the time of your exercise. Why? Because antioxidants are anti-inflammatory and they take down the inflammation, and for your body to respond to resistance training and build back a stronger muscle, you have to let that muscle stay stressed and be in a little inflammation.
Inflamed is a fair word.
So you want the IL-6, interleukin 6 to run there because it senses inflammation. So it's like, IL-6, get out of my bloodstream, go to my muscle, make it bigger, better. So you do want it to be inflamed. But if you're fighting something, you shouldn't be doing a strength training.
But you'll be out of the gym too for a week if you get the bad flu anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, if you're fighting a real bad cold and you got that sore throat happening and oh no, this is, oh boy, it's coming on, don't work out that day.
I take it for prevention, but I take it in the evening every night.
Do you?
I'll just take one serving in the evening with essential before bed.
I find it's a good preventative too. Yeah, but if you feel it coming, if it's going around your family, start stepping it up.
So how can working out exacerbate a sickness?
Because all your efforts are going to building that muscle back,
the
rather
energy
than
of your systems?
The energy is like, going to these torn muscles. I sense there's a problem
here.
You
can go for a walk, go for a stroll, that'll help.
But if you're doing a good strength training workout, it's not a good idea when you're really coming down with something. You want to let your body rest.
What fascinates me is the physics of things. Like engines operate based on the same physics that our body is beholden to. Like an engine has, it generates power, and only so much of that power can direct towards things. You can plug in too much into your car and like it'll trip a breaker, or and it's what's really crazy. I mean, even if you like drill down, I was just watching, you guys know who Brian Cox is? He's a physicist.
No.
You may have seen him. He's on YouTube, of course, and he gives lectures, and he talks very softly but very passionately and articulately about quantum things, about things that are very hard to understand, that he admits he doesn't understand, but he's able to explain them, in my opinion, better than most I've heard. And he was giving this interview on quantum computing and how quantum computing works. And he talked about how everything in space and time stores information. And so a black hole can store, based on the circumference of the, what's that called? The totality, or I forget what it's called, the part of the black hole, the event horizon.
Don't know, but I do know that you follow a lot of this because you share some things with me sometimes on my Instagram.
Yeah, I'll say, that's true. I send it to you, and it's like, nerd. At this. You like swipe out of my nerd share. But what's fascinating is information is stored in a section of space. There is no empty space. There's actual data.
I've just become so, I know this is, it's a terrible interruption, but it just makes me feel like falling down my knees and worshiping God whenever I talk about science like this.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, what brought this on is I was searching out the recent eclipse because I saw a picture of the eclipse and I was like, wait a minute. The moon is at the exact distance where, as it moves over, it perfectly covers the sun and creates this eye, this sign and this wonder in the heavens. I mean, how can we not, like, even if like you don't even believe in God or a traditional version of God, how can you not believe in intelligent design or in some sort of brilliance behind this? Because as Brian Cox was explaining how on the perimeter of the black hole, every, I forget, it's called like Planck length, which is like this, I think the smallest unit of measurement. My physics is botch and it's based on just stuff that I study as an amateur, but it's still fascinating. And so go look this up yourself to get the real words. But essentially every like square of space in the universe has like, you can picture it like ones and zeros of data, of information, and it's relevant and it matters. And some of it is even redundant. Like if you, not only the perimeter, but then go into the black hole, and then that information will repeat as backups almost. And why this was cool is that quantum computers actually store information because in the physical universe, it's possible to do so. It's actually using space. And so, and even our physics now, like microchips, you know, when you tell a computer to do an action, a thing travels along a circuit board, right? You see those lines, that grid that's laid out like a well-built city.
Yeah.
The reason that's possible is because physics exists. It's not just technology. It's actually limited by the space and time around it. And so the things we have like phones and technology, thousands of years ago, people would think that it was magic.
Yeah, no, they
because
would.
it's copper and silicone, and it actually is the alchemy of the ancient times, fully harnessed and fully real, maybe not fully, but realized for our time. And people thousands of years ago would fall down and worship those who had the power to wield, you know, to bring a face onto the screen and us instantly be able to communicate with no lag time. And
have you seen
it's
that
traveling.
show? Right now, it's on Netflix. 3 Body Problem. You would like that show. You would like it.
But what, like, physics. Even like and this is relevant to like health.
Okay,
right?
but relevant to the sore throat thing,
and relevant to all of this. Yes.
I'm wondering.
Wait, relevant to what?
Relevance. If he doesn't, I got it.
Okay.
Relevant to what? What did you say?
The sore throat, getting red with the
yes,
cubic acid.
it is.
Okay.
It is. So like even as you make a phone call, right?
Yep.
It's like we sort of take for granted that someone's voice in China is coming through this box.
We do. Almost
Instantaneously. But it's not magic. We know that. It's actually traveling through space and time at, it would seem, light speed. It's probably not light speed, but it to our experience, it's as fast as a photon can appear in a new place around the other side of the world. And so, you know, when you think about into your body and there's sickness happening, all we experience is the final external symptoms of a runny nose or a cough. But actually, there are living creatures with wills and desires, and they are bent on destruction and consuming you. And what happens? Your body, an electrochemical alarm goes off, and we're like, oh, our white blood cells go and fight the sickness. And it's like, wait a minute. These cells begin to like look and sense, and they become malevolent at these creatures that are assaulting their master whom they serve, and don't know they serve the master, by the way, that we know of. But these white blood cells that we name them have these wills, and they go out and they gather their troops, and they begin to devour and annihilate without mercy these things that are afflicting. And so, you know, when I think about sickness and the body and any of this, it's all within this universe that has laws, and they literally repeat, whether it's technology, whether it's health, whether it's mindset and what you believe and what's your life going to look like. You know, I said something in a text to you guys the other night about, you know, praying for us, for praying for my family. And I said, make sure that you do it audibly, because your words are going to vibrate the air. And, you know, my whole life I've been told about, you know, this image is almost like you're asking and hoping that God will hear you and agree with you, and then he will run and do the thing. Okay. But my latest view of prayer is that God has asked us to do it.
Exactly.
Okay.
He said he wants us to agree.
Yeah, and that the vibrations of the words and the intention and the emotion, because if you drill down into the physics of the heart, the furnace of emotion, and it's not just a feeling of emotion. There is a chemical, electromagnetic change happening in your body. Yeah. As you effectually and fervently say, let not this thing happen, or may this thing come to pass. You are vibrating time and space. Physics happens.
And I agree with that to a point. That's the science. And then above the science, the head of it all, the cross. And there's a finished work that's being completed. That's just, my belief as a believer in Christ and in the cross. Those finished things have been done, and they're a perfect work, and we come into agreement with it.
Right. And he tore the veil, and he told us, you can do this now. You can come to the Father and order things through my name.
Not for the red Ferrari, because that's not the finished work of the cross.
Yeah.
Or Serene and Pearl will have a red Ferrari. I died for that. No, he didn't.
or maybe it's not a good use of your gift, but it could be possible.
It's true.
Right. On the science part of it, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking the cross part of that.
Yeah,
But there is something above. You could have somebody with no faith. And there is the gift where you can pray for somebody. And I don't believe that the person you're praying for has to have the faith. I believe there is, because, Jesus came and he healed people. Some of them had faith. I believe some of them may not have, but there is also that gift, the cross.
I don't know. I think they all pretty much had faith, because he kept saying your faith has made you whole.
Yeah, but there are people that the healing gave them the faith.
You know what? The faith.
The children that were dead, they didn't have faith.
Exactly.
The faith for me has become very grounded and real, more than it ever has when I consider physics. That as long as it's magic, and as long as it's like hoping that God wants these things to happen, and I'm not talking about Ferraris at this point. I'm talking about a lost coin, a lost son. Bringing good into the world, things that are in agreement with the laws of the love, and so like faith for me has become that I could generate emotion in my furnace. I can pray prayers. I can ask for good and right things to come to pass in this world. I can fix. Is it not faith to believe on a physics level that you can fix wrongs, that you can set wrong things right?
Where I come, and I'm not the be all and end all. This is just me personally. I'm saying maybe I'm wrong, but I think we have nothing. The only thing we have to do with it is obeying in the currency of faith, belief. But I believe it's got nothing to do with our works, except for the obedience part of it, because it's all because he's done something.
But but what Danny's saying is we can practice and walk in that.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
It's the practicality, but I think it can flip to the extreme,
where
it's all about us. If we can generate,
but what he's saying is, a lost,
also arresting
a lost son or something, and God does want restoration.
Yeah.
And so if we are walking in what his will is, like, hey, thy will be done. What is God's will? That a son be restored.
I know. I already know the will.
So I'm praying in faith. That means your faith lines up with him.
I 100% agree. We're all on the same page.
But anyway,
with that.
Totally. I think this is within the context of God, within the context of intelligent design, black hole physics, information being out there, and us interacting with that information and coursing reality.
No, I totally agree 100%. And I
what
think that's
Serene's
a lot.
saying is we don't want Christ's work on the cross to be removed from that.
Well, I just believe there's only so much that we can do. Meaning, I still feel like, it's his provision. It's his provision of healing. It's his provision of love and of light and of wisdom, and it all comes from him. Yes, we can choose to not pick up any of it. So there is that on us.
Yeah.
There is that on you. There is that on us. there's totally where we can stay the broken sinners. We can stay the poor, like I'm just here on this earth to just trudge through, we can stay there. But that's not it's not about a ticket to heaven. It's about all that's provided here for victorious living here and now. But that's where we have to step up our game. But I'm just saying it's all from him. But you were saying that too.
Yeah. And to me, the action part is so important. Like if we can remove the mystery, for example, oh God, hear my prayer and give me the muscles. I want to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. Hear my prayer. Make this come to pass. Now I'm waiting and hoping that someone will pick me and do what I'm hoping that will happen. Or I can work out. I can begin to take action. Might as well pray too.
Yeah.
But my point is that if we can remove the mystery from hoping someone will hear us, hoping that it will happen, hoping someone else will agree, and get into, I am a wise creature. I believe in myself and I see what needs to happen.
I don't believe in myself. I suppose that's where, and it's good for us to have this healthy debate.
Of course.
I just feel like it's so, what I want to be careful about, and the people listening here on the Poddy too, is that there are truths that are foundational to the Bible that have been, what I could say, plagiarized by a new kinds of religion that are not of the ancient book. They've just taken a truth. The truth is the truth, but it belonged first to the Bible, but they've just removed God from it.
The Secret did that.
And so, I don't believe in myself.
Yeah.
I believe in God in me. He is living and abiding in me. And because I have chosen to rest on the finished work that he has paid, the price of himself dying for me, then I feel like there's so much overcoming and hope and power and all of that stuff, but it's not about me or I,
Yeah, I'd say we're in violent agreement.
I think
but can I say one thing which is very interesting?
Oh, yeah.
You know how you're saying, people get freaked out about the phone and all of this stuff and technology, and some people think it's almost voodoo, we're way back when. But like there's so much, like you were saying, and I love this, there's so much more. There's always been this amazing technology just in the human body, in the computer of our head. And like you said, all of these networks and these little, channels back and forth, like light speed. It's incredible. And you think if you just roll out the DNA, how many times it goes around the world. I mean, there's been, this sounds so evil. Like this, no, I'm not even going to say it because I was going to say it stupidly. Like there's been voodoo in our body. No, what I meant by that, it's like if you didn't understand it, if you actually took the skin off and actually delved into all of the science that's going on in our body, it's all been there. Computers are just images of what God already created in there.
No, I know. It's amazing. But
there's not voodoo in our body. You know what I meant.
I know.
I know that seemed like some big wild rabbit trail, but like
it's good
the vitamin
stuff.
C ascorbate is like entering a realm of physics. And it's starting to shift
and
gears.
somehow the essential pushing it down that lymphatic pathway it's being more effective.
And that's like, let's just rabbit trail it back to the GLP-1s and all.
JD's got to leave.
All of that though. But it's just finding the chemicals, the natural chemicals, or the biosynthesized things that our body can relate to and speak its language. And it can turn on levers and switches.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're learning with, methylation.
Yeah.
We used to think genetics, like you are born with your genes and whatever your genes are going to do. But now they're like, realize that's a bunch of crap. Yes, genes are strong, but epigenetics are stronger, and that's what you do to influence your genes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's 85%. So yes, some people have genetic SNPs and stuff,
Yeah.
and so you have to bring in some bigger tools, but you're still influencing your genes by doing that. Oh. You don't just sit there and say, my genes are like this. Okay, let's influence your genes.
Yeah.
I have a genetic disposition to be a rage monster when I abuse myself with sugar and then I crash, have a hypoglycemic crash. I'm impossible to work with. I hallucinate that someone is assaulting me and stopping me from doing what I want to do. It's a complete hallucination. But then when I drink Trim Healthy Mama amino acid protein water all day, and like balance my lifestyle and actually work out and stuff, I'm so cool. I can get along with everyone.
I have a challenge to you though. You know, we did last week the Poddy on salmon. I wonder what will happen with you if you brought salmon in at least 3 times a week. To see how it's layer upon layer of things, right? So yeah, you're getting your protein in, and now you're doing essential. And I wonder what that DMAE is going to be doing. Like, I do at least 3 times a week.
No, I love that. And can
happens.
I just flash back here for a second?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to add a few things, just a few seconds.
And then JD and
that whole conversation we had, it was
Danny
so natural. We had something else to bring, but that's okay because I loved it. But I feel like I think it's so healthy to just banter back and forth. I love, there's some thoughts that are coming to mind. One's the scripture, you know, faith without works is dead. Mm-hmm. You can't have a belief without an action, or it wasn't really a belief. You know, it was just an idea. And I love how in the Bible it says to put off things and put on, and the drive, the steering wheel is in our hands. He's put it there. The whole thing from the beginning was a choice. And who makes choices? Us. You know, God is a gentleman, and he doesn't force us like a robot to do stuff. It's all choice. And choice means that's on us. But we make the move.
Yeah.
You know, sorry about it, Serene. I have been judgmental in my life, I think. And you know, I've asked God to forgive me for that, and I repent of that. But I have been judgmental on certain things. We used to go to this church, and it was a sweet little Baptist church, you know, because it was down when we used to live in Kingston Springs and get together for the prayer meeting. And you know, like the Bible says, my people perish for lack of wisdom. I think this is why we wrote the book, right? But every Wednesday night was prayer meeting night, and every time it would be, you know, please pray for Tom, because Tom's not feeling ill this week. You know, he's feeling poorly. And I know why Tom's feeling poorly, because I've seen Tom eat at the potluck. So, you know, I mean, things add up. Things have consequences. We have a steering wheel, and I can't go and say, poor Tom. You know, well, I hope Jesus does make him feel better. But I know that there are things we can do, and that's why all us Trim Healthy Mamas are doing, and guys are doing what they're doing too. But I would always just think to myself, why doesn't Tom eat better?
Trim Healthy Mamas show up different to the prayer meeting.
Yeah.
God changed the molecular structure of this Cheeto as it goes down my stomach.
All I'm saying is, but Tom didn't know. Tom was brought up with Tom's, you know, family, and he didn't read the books or other things. And yes, even to the best, you know, the health, you can have everything in place and still things sometimes go wrong. But I'm saying there's so much we can jolly well do to get from A to B. And we don't just pray and say, God, make me better. I'm doing things to also be in line with that prayer.
And still it's not us because he works in... What's that scripture that says he works in will to do his good pleasure? Like, he gives us the grace to be able to have the strength. Because a lot of people, it's like, I hear you. And they have the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. But God can give us the grace. He can, when we rely on his strength, then we can move forward in action.
And that's why I think, you know, we've all said here that we've judged other people's grocery carts too at the store.
We've all confessed.
You know, we have confessed to that.
Yeah.
But these days I try to be less of a
we
judger
need to pray for revelations
and more of a, you know, a sharer of things. I guess that's why we have a podcast, right?
Have you ever addressed someone's cart?
No.
No, I would never. But
people, I do ask if, like, the person who's checking me out, although these days there's only 2 people in the whole grocery store checking out, and you have to go through the
that would be
self-checkout, which I hate.
A big viral YouTube video
self-checkout.
Is the Trim Healthy Mamas come in, and you offer if they'll allow you to fill their cart, and you'll pay for it.
They'd
probably
cool.
go. That'd be great, but they'll probably go home and think, I've got nothing to eat.
They don't know what to do. It's
just
education.
Throw it out and go to another store.
But yeah, I don't know. I do like it when this person checking me out asks about the things and all asks.
Oh, you love to talk to the person?
Well, I love to. If they ask me about my food, like, what do you use this for?
They usually don't know what the vegetables are called.
What do you use this for?
Sometimes they don't know that cilantro.
Well,
or
we do live in Hickman County. You know, it's not the healthiest county in the nation.
So you're really weird in your grocery store.
Yeah, we're pretty weird in our grocery stores.
The Hickmans can be.
When you go to Walmart.
Yeah.
In Hickman, well, we actually go in Dixon County.
I actually have to take a few seconds or a few minutes to deep breathe and to really like bring back hope into my life after our Walmart experience out where we live, because I can get really depressed. There's that fluorescent flickering lights. Everyone's a little bit, like a lot bit overweight, pushing their carts, and they've got pops over top. You know how they hang them? the plastic and
The
all the
soda.
plastic that I hate, and it's hanged over on all sides of the cart. You know how it's like a
See,
you know,
Franklin, Tennessee, you don't see that as
and then
much.
inside it's all of the like the white bunny bread and the box this and box that, and the little 4-year-old has the big Dunlap tie, is going to have diabetes at 6 kind of thing. I'm almost shaking. Like, I just don't know what to do.
Walmart and Dixon, though, I mean, that's next level. That's like a traveling circus. I was in there once, and I had a lady in a motorized cart ask me if we could make a baby together.
Ooh.
She motorized up to me drunk, and she was like, she was like, "Arr!" She goes, "Ooh, I like your hair." And I was like, "Thank you." And she goes,
Are we ending with this?
she said, "You want to make a baby?"
We're
And I
ending
was
with
like,
this.
I said, "No, appreciate it though." I was with a Mormon,
JD's face.
a Mormon friend of mine. He
JD's been shaking his head this whole
she
potty.
she motorized away. She motored away, and my Mormon friend, he was like, he goes, "That has never happened to me. Is that how your life is? Like this happens to you?" And I was just like, "No, this was a God moment."
This is Dixon,
This is
Tennessee.
Dixon
do, you go
Walmart,
to
baby.
do you go to Dixon, Tennessee Walmart?
The pallor of the
Fairview.
skin,
Fairview
though.
is different.
It's the pallor of the skin.
Fairview's way
Yeah.
different.
It's not beautiful. It's not fairness because they're light skin colored. It's not enough circulation and nutrients.
It is. It is because of what, and it is a taught thing, and it's not fair.
No,
It's
not
I
fair.
feel compassion. It's not.
I have felt judgment. As I said, I've repented for that, but now I do feel
But
more
to me,
compassion.
it wasn't judgment. To me, I get in the car and I just feel a deep sense of like the world's gone down.
Yeah.
And it's like this.
Yeah, because you go
where's
from the
hope?
hilltop to Walmart and Dixon.
Ah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough contrast.
How do we end? How do we redeem this
This
podcast?
is the Trim Healthy
There's
Podcast.
no redeeming. We didn't redeem.
I think
Goodbye.
we got judgy at the
We
end.
really tried to not even butt in, but we still lost more haters.